Hi, I'm Leo Kim. Nice to meet you. And
Hello, Leo Kim.
um, and I am working on a project for environmental studies at Tufts. And the project is focused on a specific place, and my place is Sanford Lake. And so I'm here today to interview you about historic changes at Sanford Lake.
Okay.
First off, when is the first time you went to Sanford Lake, and what do you remember from that first time you were there?
The first time I went to Sanford Lake was probably sometime around 1996, 1997. I'm not sure the exact year, but it was right after um, Julie and I moved back from China, and some friends took us camping there. And what I mostly remember was that it was really beautiful. And um, I think on the first trip we actually went fishing in the lake and caught some fish, ate fish, and there was a lot of water.
Can you tell me more about how you found this place in the beginning?
Um, in the beginning, we had some friends who knew about that whole area of the Tahoe National Forest, and we went. The first time we went there, I think we actually came from Downey Lake, which you've been to, which is a lake nearby. They used to camp all the time at Downey Lake, and we hiked over and found Sanford Lake. And so then after that, we started going by ourselves and going to the campground and hiking down from the campground like you've gone there.
Do you remember, were there a lot of trees and a lot of water in the lake at the start?
Yeah, there was a lot of water in the lake, and usually because of all the snow melt in the spring, there was not just a lot of water in the lake, but there was water around the campground. There was like overflow. There were like little ponds and stuff everywhere. There weren't actually, it wasn't as easy to camp sometimes because there weren't as many places to put your tent because sometimes there were like little ponds next to the lake where the water had overflown from the lake. Um, and on the drive up, I don't remember the first couple times we went there never seeing impacts from forest fires. So there weren't any burned trees or anything like that. And now there are some.
Yeah, what do you think the most noticeable differences are from the first time you were there to now?
Um, Three things that are most noticeable. Number one, there's no fish in the lake. We don't even fish anymore, but with the last like 5 times we went fishing there, we didn't catch anything, and I've never seen any fish in the lake. So I don't know whether they stopped stocking it or whether the fish just don't haven't been able to survive because lower water levels. I don't know why, but there's no fish in the lake, so that's one. Second is there's just a lot less water, and I think that's a combination of drought in recent years, but also just a lot less snow in general because as it gets warmer and there's less snow up there, there's less snow melt, and so there's less water in the lake. And there's almost never. There used to be that big pond right next to our campground. I think you probably remember that. That's almost never there anymore. It's always dry now. And then the third thing is what I just mentioned is there have been some forest fires in the area, so there's a lot of burned trees, not right at the lake, but on the way up there as you go through the forest, you see them, and they weren't there probably the first 10 years I went there.
What do you enjoy most about Sanford Lake,
Uh,
like over time, and how has that changed or not changed?
what I enjoy most about it hasn't changed that much because what I enjoy most about it is that it's really a beautiful spot, that it's isolated but also super easy to get to, um, and that because we've been going there for so long and you guys have gone there for so long, we know it really well. So it's like a family, it's almost like a family vacation house because we've been going there for so long and we know it really well. So that's none of that has really changed.
Is there anything that you miss about Sanford Lake from like 20 years ago?
Yeah, I miss fishing and catching fish. That was always fun. Um, and when you were little and there was always that little pond by the campground, you spend hours like catching those little bugs in there. And it's kind of sad that that little pond never exists there anymore. So those are the two things that I miss, I
So you already touched on this a little bit, but what kind of activities did you used to do when you went to Sanford, like at the start, at the beginning?
think. Well, mostly what we still do now, we would go camp. We would do day hikes from there, and the one thing that's different is we would fish. and we'd swim in the lake. And that's, we do almost all of that now. The only thing that's different is we don't swim or we don't fish anymore because there's no fish.
Mhm. And can you tell me a little bit about the wildlife there? Has that changed a lot? I mean, besides the fish, did you used to see like more bears and deer around the lake, or is that
Um,
constant?
I don't know that that's changed that much. We've um, only seen a bear there once. Once when we were hiking in there, your mom saw a mountain lion. Um, and we never used to see deer. I think it's because it's a national forest. It's not a national park. So there's some seasons there's hunting, so the deer just don't come around there as much. So I don't think other than the fish, the wildlife has changed that dramatically.
Okay. Do you think human like use of Sanford Lake has gone up over time, or has it been relatively constant?
I think human use of the area near Sanford Lake has gone up a lot. There's always people camped at that campground up at the top of the ridge now. And when we first used to go there, there weren't very many people camping there very often. People don't get down to Sanford Lake as much because people don't know about it. So I think that actual spot, the use hasn't gone up that much, but the general area, the usage has gone up a lot. You see a lot more campers there than we used to.
And what do you see for the future of Sanford Lake? Do you think these changes will start to have more dramatic effects on your ability to camp there and use the land?
Well, I think the increased incidence of forest fires is definitely concerning because that land in a dry summer is just ripe for a forest fire, and that would dramatically change that whole forest area. And it wouldn't be as nice of a place to camp if everything was all burned out and there weren't as much tree cover and everything. Um, and also just general climate change and warming over time means there's less water. There's less water in the lake. There's less water around. There's less snow. The less snow sometimes makes it easier to get there. So that actually increases usage of the land by more people, which is also hard on the land. So there'll be less water in the lakes and more people getting up there at the same time. So that sort of beats up the area a little bit too.
And one final question. Do you think there's anything like we could do to help protect this place specifically?
Specifically to help protect that place. I think the main things are the same things we have to do generally to protect places, which are, um, you know, fly less, drive less, to slow down climate change, um, and to specifically protect that place, they could put in more controls on who camps there and often how many people they let in and stuff like that. It's hard to say whether they need to do that yet, but I could see them needing to do that in the future.
All right. Thank you so much for talking with me about Sanford Lake.
It was my pleasure, my
Mhm.
son.
All right. Bye.
Bye.